Okay, welcome everyone to quality management. Today we will continue with the 8 principles of total quality management. We have covered in the previous part the first 4: focus on customer, employee involvement, process centering, and integrating systems. Today we will cover the part of the strategic and systematic approach. We will spend 2 meetings on that one, and then we'll continue with the remaining principles. So moving on to the slides. We are waiting for the slides to show up. Okay. Moving to the strategic and systematic approach. One of the 8 principles of total quality management is having a strategic approach or strategic plan to your organization. What do you want to achieve? What is your mission? What is your status now compared to the others? What factors could impact on the growth of your organization? All these has to be planned. An organization without planning cannot achieve anything. Any system in any organization only can grow and can achieve its goals when you have a plan and you have a management for that plan. Not a planning, just a document is in the shelves there, but at the end there is a management who translate these plans into actual. So you can achieve your goals and achieve your mission and vision. Part 6, continual improvement. We will cover it later in another session. So we will continue now with number 5, the strategic planning. The strategic planning, we will have 6 tools that is commonly used when you plan for your organization, or you are going to make a strategic plan for your organization. Those tools are gap analysis, strategic change agenda, SWOT analysis, stakeholder analysis, value chain analysis, PISTIL analysis. So we'll take one by one. With the first one, and it's probably very common, and many of you maybe have seen it in other courses or trainings, the SWOT analysis. Why we need SWOT in building or establishing a strategic plan? You need a micro level comparison between your organization and competitors in the market. So you can see your current status, your current strength, your current weakness. You evaluate yourself and what are the opportunities and what are the threats for your organization. So usually you put yourself compared to others and you evaluate yourself. It's like self-diagnosing. In this part here in the top, we call it the internal factors, your strength, your weakness. And the external factors are the opportunities and threats. The strategy, you usually build it based on the relation between the internal and external factors. Let's say, or let's see for an example, a strength like your brand name, your technology, your innovative product, and the opportunities is market demand or growth in the market. So the strategy here will be you maximize the strength and maximize the opportunities. Both of them, you have a potential and good potential there. So you maximize them. For example, companies working in tourism now, and you have opportunities to add religious tourism these days. So this is opportunity, and let's assume that you are a good name in the market of the tourism here. So you can have opportunity by maximizing your strength and adding also another potential opportunity. For the weakness and opportunities, if they are when we evaluate the relation between the weakness and the opportunity, we focus on minimizing the weakness and maximizing the opportunities. So we always try to maximize the opportunities and maximize the strength and minimize the weaknesses. Obviously, also this will apply to the threats. If you have threats coming, new competitors in the market that may take the market share from you, but you have a brand name and good name, you have to maximize this strength, maybe by focusing on your customer relation, your service, your aftermarket or after sales services. By that, you can maximize your current name also and minimize the threats by trying to find maybe new products that can go over the threats from another competitors. They don't have it. If you have a weakness and threats, and this is the worst case, when you have weaknesses and you have threats, your strategy has to be by minimizing both of them, the weakness and the threats. So how we build our strategy in the organization based on the SWOT analysis? Well, first we need to know that SWOT is a micro strategic analysis tool, not a macro. Micro, that means it's on a small scale, it's a narrow compared to the others in the market. And from the evaluation of your strengths and opportunities, you can draw your strategies by having goals that and objectives maximize your strength, maximize your opportunities if you have strength and opportunity, and so on. So here how you build the strategy based on the SWOT analysis. Here there is an example, and there is a link here for more readings that or more to watch about the SWOT analysis. I believe this is covered maybe in other courses, so I'm not going to spend too much, but just go over the example here very quickly, like the strength examples. For example, things your company does it well. For example, like they have a good, reliable product. The opportunity, a few competitors in your area provide the same product with the same reliability. Threats, maybe some emerging companies, they are going for merging, and that could be a threat to you because they can provide the new products and enter the market. Weaknesses, for example, resources limitation or other weaknesses like things your company lacks on, then this is how you have to minimize them and avoid those weaknesses come over your opportunities, or it will be also working with your threats to take your organization market share down. So now we move on to the other tool that we use it for the strategic planning. Is also, maybe some of you have seen it before, is the PESTEL analysis. It's a strategic tool, but it's different than the SWOT analysis in a way that in the PESTEL analysis, you focus on the macro level. It's like you are looking to the whole picture here, looking to the environment around you, the regulations, the system, what's going on between the global market, the supply chain over the world, the logistics. So you are evaluating yourself, or you are evaluating those factors. The PESTEL stands for public, economic, social, technical, and legal, as well as the environmental factors that could affect your organization or your project, and how you will go over these factors and how you will deal with them. So let's see the example here, and a a quick explanation about how the pestle analysis works, and then we will go back. So let's share the screen.
Pestle analysis. A pestle analysis is a framework that managers use to analyze their external environment when they are formulating the strategy for their company. Sometimes this analysis is called PEST or STEEPLE. These are just different terms for the same tool. A pestle analysis does not look at the company itself or its immediate surroundings, such as its competitors or suppliers. Instead, a pestle analysis considers the macro environment, those developments in the outside world that the company cannot influence, but that can have an important effect on the company and its strategy. You can picture the management of a company looking outside their office window into the wider world to see what important developments are taking place. When we do this, the pestle framework is useful to make sure that all relevant topics are taken into consideration: political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. When doing a pestle analysis, there are two important steps. Firstly, you identify relevant trends that are taking place in the external environment that can have an impact on the company. These trends should be happening now or in the near future. You can think of them as waves in the ocean that you can see coming. They have not hit the shore yet, but you know that soon they will. For each trend that is identified, management can then discuss the strategic implications and decide on the right action to take. Let's look at an example. Say you are running a coffee shop company. For political trends, there may be a trade war on the horizon between your country and others. Your coffee shop can be impacted by import tariffs on foreign coffee beans, which will increase your costs. As an action, you may want to source your coffee from other countries that are not subject to the import tariffs. Economic trends can include the anticipated growth of the economy, the level of inflation, or changes in the level of unemployment. All these can affect your business. Let's imagine that the economy is growing rapidly and is forecast to continue to do well. This can be a good time to expand your company and open new stores. For social trends, you may observe that people are getting more interested in healthy food. This can lead you to change your menu to accommodate the changing needs of your customers. In technological trends, we can see that internet access is becoming cheaper and faster, and that people are spending more time online. This can encourage you to invest in fast Wi-Fi for your stores and to advertise your business on social media. For legal developments, there may be government announcements about changes in taxation, an increase in the minimum wage, or an upcoming requirement to disclose the number of calories on your menu. All of these developments will impact your business in different ways. Finally, an environmental trend that is important for nearly all companies today is climate change. In response, you may invest in solar energy on your rooftop and make sure that the coffee beans you purchase are grown in a way that does not damage the environment. Remember that the letters in the pestle acronym are only there as a reminder for you to make sure you are not leaving out anything important. It is not really critical where in the pestle analysis you place each trend. For example, the fact that people are spending more and more time online can be considered both a technological and a social trend. The important thing is to identify the main developments in the external environment and to think through the strategic implications for your business. That concludes the pestle analysis. Check our other videos for more insights. Brought to you by
That was a quick and good informative video about the PISTOL analysis. So as I told you, the SWOT and the PISTOL, both of them helps you to draw your strategy for your organization. The only difference between them, in the PISTOL analysis, you look to the global picture, let's say the bigger picture, and in the SWOT analysis, you look for the micro level and compare yourself with your competitors. Moving on to the next tool is the stakeholder analysis. In the stakeholder analysis here, what we need to evaluate is each stakeholders to our organization or even to our project in the organization. Like for example, now the Saudi government here are running mega, or we can say giga projects. And those projects are very tremendous, huge, and it requires a lot of resources and management and even strategic planning, definitely, because it's all under the main master plan of the vision of the 2030. And then you have strategic goals. And then under these strategic goals, you have strategic plans, smart goals, we call them, serve the strategic plan and then serve the master plan. So these projects, you have stakeholders. You have to evaluate the stakeholders based on two factors: the power of the stakeholder and his interest or his potential. The power, I will give you the definition in Arabic just to make it precise to you. الباور مقصود به هنا القوة في اتخاذ ممكن القرار، في التغيير، يعني زي اللي نقدر نقول هو صاحب الصلاحية في الآخر. يعني مثلا لو جينا نقول الآن على مثال موجود في الجامعة كطلاب أنتم، الطالب بيروح لأستاذ المقرر وفي رئيس قسم وفي عميد كلية. من حيكون طبعا صاحب القوة أكثر؟ أكيد العميد الكلية. لو رحت لرئيس الجامعة طبعا this is highest power and more power they have. الانترست الشخص اللي هو مهتم في الموضوع، يعني عنده اهتمام في الموضوع هذا، لأنه قد يكون هو stakeholder بس ما هو مهتم. يعني أنت رحت مثلا تكلم الأستاذ في المادة بس ما هو مهتم في الموضوع اللي أنت بتتكلم عنه، فهنا نتكلم الانترست is not high, so it's low. So basically, let's go back here. Stakeholder analysis is a process of identifying these people before project begins. So before you start, because you need to know during the project what the actions you will take for each one of them. And basically, you may take or pay attention to some stakeholders, but really they don't give you the impact on the progress of the project later on. So you have to find them first and determine all the stakeholders. And then, as we said, you categorize or you evaluate the stakeholder based on these two things, the power and the interest. The person who has high power and high interest, you manage them closely, means that دائما تخليهم بجانبك قريبين منك، لأنه any changes or any decisions or any resources you may need, you will need those people. Those people, they are the key. Those people are the ignition of the car, who makes the car running and supply you with the resources you need it when you need it. They are self-motivated because they have the high interest, so you manage them to keep them always close. This is similar when you put, for example, ministers. Those ministers, they have power, definitely, but also they should have interest to serve the vision of the government. Otherwise, it will be a power without interest. and in that case, it will be going to this site. And you don't want to have this apply to minister, because the minister is still under another authority. So this is not going to be the case you want, because those people, you want to keep them satisfied, in a meaning that they have the power, but they don't have the interest. So what you want to do is you try to make them all the time interested about your goal, and you satisfy them. You try to provide them with the things that whenever you need them, so they can help you. Because they're not interested in this project, they have the decision at the end. It's like when you go to the president of the university and you ask him for a project to do it with your students, and you need support from him. He has the power, okay? But if he's not interested, then you need to motivate him to make the decision that supports you. So you have to maybe show presentation, you show how this is going to be helpful and how it will impact on the university and so on. So you can move him from this side to that side, okay? From the high power and low interest to high power with high interest. And there is the other, the lower side of that case. If we have a low power and high interest, someone is very interested in your project, but he doesn't have power. You keep inform those people about the changes, about the things, because at the end, he doesn't have the power, but you keep them informed. In a case, they maybe in one day could be promoted and have a higher authority. So you will need them that time to be aware of all the progress happened. So you keep them informed. And the least one, which is you don't have to really worry about them. You monitor them from far, and you don't have to really worry about those who has low power and low interest. You just keep them monitored just to make sure that they are not making the work slower or something like that. يعني ما يكونوا بيعثروا في هذا ويسووا لك أحيانا noise in the organization وهم ما عندهم لا authority ولا interest في الآخر. فهذول you don't have to worry about them. بس خليهم كده إيش تحت الملاحظة من بعيد. This is how you draw your strategy in dealing with your stakeholders, who you put the attention more, who you make them close, who you keep them informed, who just keep them away. This is how you make your strategy with your stakeholders in the organization. The strategic change agenda, basically this is a framework. يعني خلينا نقول هو زي مخطط عمل, okay, to identify and assess the current state and what you want to achieve in the future. طبعا انت حتقول لي the SWOT and the PISTALE, how they are different. Here you draw performance dimension. انت هناك you are talking about your strengths, so you know what is your add value, what is your weaknesses, what is the opportunities, what are the threats, and then from there you build based on each intersection between those categories a strategy to deal with that intersection. For the PISTALE, as we said, it's something for the factor your organizations that will be affected by. Here, this is just your performance. Regularly, you evaluate yourself and you see where your performance at and what do you want to take it in the future. So this is something can happen after you develop your strategy plan. The wider picture, like the PISTALE analysis, you can go, and this is during the operation, you can do it while you are operating. After a first year, the report should shows what is your performance, how is our communication in the organization, how is our resources, the innovation of our products or the customer satisfaction. You evaluate all that, and then you put your destination for tomorrow as a dimensions أبعاد يعني بتتكلم عنها هنا general. Then you can develop later goals and projects that can serve and help you to achieve the destination of tomorrow for these dimensions. Okay, right. Moving on to the value chain analysis. The value chain analysis is a strategic process that can increase profits margins and provide competitive advantage for companies for all size, basically even for manufacturing or service. You can apply this tool. This is, if you have taken supply chain, or you are going, or you're about to take maybe a course or training in supply chain, you will get the picture how this can link to the supply chain. When you develop a total quality management or you implement the principles of the total quality management, one of those, as we said, the strategic planning, and you have to evaluate the value chain and analyze it. And basically, the value chain consists of two activities, the primary activities and the secondary activities. The primary is the one that focus on the manufacturing and the service transactions, whereas the secondary is on the resources that helps you to fulfill your primary activities. So let's see those primary activities. What include logistics, the inbound logistics for the raw material that you are importing to develop your product. And developing your product is the operations itself. And after you develop your product, now shipping your product, this is the outbound logistics. Marketing and sales, the one that makes the advertisement for your product, and sales who can forecast the demand. The services, definitely after you sell your products, you may have customer service or customer support for that product. This is the primary activity, whether it's manufacturing as a product or financial products like bank or credit cards or loans or services also. And the secondary activity include the infrastructure، البنية التحتية مثلا للمنشأة اللي انت شغال فيها. هذه ما هي برايمري، هذه سكندري تعتبر، تغذي الأساسية اللي هي الماتيريال والعمل نفسه اللي يحقق المنتج أو يصنع المنتج. Technology development, again this is part also of the infrastructure. Human resource management, hiring people, train them, procurement, the purchasing for the material, the purchasing department, all these considered to be a secondary activity for the value chain analysis. There is a video here. Let's watch this video together, and then we will go back and continue with the value chain. So let's share the screen.
What is a value chain? A string of collaborating players who work together to satisfy market demands for specific products or services is called a value chain. The intent of a value chain is to increase the value of a product or service. Value chains integrate a variety of supply chain activities throughout the product or service lifecycle, such as determination of customer needs, production, distribution, marketing, and after-sales service. What is a value stream? It is a sequence of activities required to design, produce, and deliver a good or service to the market. It may be controlled by a single business or by a network of several businesses. For a product, value stream encompasses raw material supplier, manufacturer, and distribution network. For a service, value stream consists of suppliers, technology, service producer, and distribution channel. What is value stream mapping? It is a two-step process. First, you draw the value stream map or flow of your current supply chain, and then you draw an improved and most effective flow for your product or service. What is Porter's value chain? Porter's value chain focuses on systems and how inputs are changed into the outputs. Using this viewpoint, Porter described a chain of activities that are common to all businesses, and he divided them into two types of activities: primary activities and support activities. It is illustrated in this figure. Primary activities. They are related to the physical creation, sale, maintenance, and support of a product or service. They consist of inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. Inbound logistics are the processes related to receiving, storing, and distributing inputs. Operations are the activities that change inputs into outputs. Here, operational systems create value. Outbound logistics are the activities that deliver your product or service to your customer. Marketing and sales are the processes you use to persuade clients to purchase from you instead of your competitors. Service are the activities related to after-sales service. Support activities. They support the primary activities. In our diagram, the dotted lines show that each support activity plays a role in each primary activity. For example, procurement supports operations with certain activities, but it also supports marketing and sales with other activities. Support activities are procurement or purchasing, human resource management, technological development, and infrastructure. Procurement is what the organization does to get the resources it needs to operate. This includes finding vendors and negotiating best prices. Human resource management is how well a company recruits, trains, motivates, and rewards its workers. Technological development activities relate to managing and processing information. An infrastructure is a company's support systems and the functions that allow it to maintain daily operations. For example, accounting, legal, administrative, and general management.
Let's go back to our slides. Here it shows an example of how the value chain analysis for manufacturing looks like. As we say, the material, the machine for the operation, and the warehousing for the distribution, the advertising for the marketing, and the service, installation, repair, or maintenance. For the service, you can have the receiving, sorting, for the inbound, the operation, the transfer or resources or customers. The outbound is the end user, the storage, collection, and then you have the marketing for the branding and the social, and the service is the maintain values. It will be different between manufacturing and service in terms of the items that is for each one, but at the end it will both serve the same purpose to find what is the margin and what is the profit you want to achieve by your primary activity and your secondary activity or the supportive activity. Moving to the other tool for the strategic planning, we have the gap analysis. The gap analysis somehow is similar to the tool that we have covered here, the strategic change agenda, but here with more details that gives you, it's relying on these three questions. where are we now, where do we wish to achieve, and how you want to achieve that. So these three are the main elements of the gap analysis. You can have them as a template, like here. What is your current situation, and where is your problem now, and when this happened, the problem, and who is the one do that problem, or the response, the problem came from which department, or what was the cause of that problem, and how it happened. And then in the future state, you will answer the same questions. So here you put the gap between the current and the future here. And then what are the actions you will take to fulfill this gap? Let's watch another video here, quick one, about the gap analysis and how this tool also is useful to fulfill the current situation with the future situation gap, how you manage this between. Right, so let's move on to the gap analysis.
Welcome to today's lesson, where we're looking at how to perform a gap analysis. We'll go through the theory and then we'll look at a simple example too. So gap analysis is a simple tool which is used by organizations to raise their performance level. Imagine that you're hiking along a path when you come across a three-way junction. Now, which direction should you take? Well, that depends on where you want to get to. Now, armed with the knowledge of where you want to get to, it becomes much easier to work out the necessary steps you'll need to take to reach your final destination, including which of the three junctions you should take right now. Now, that simplistic analogy is the same basis upon which gap analysis works. A gap analysis can help an organization to understand where they want to be, the gap between where they are now and where they want to be, and hence what steps they should take to close that gap. Now, the constant granularities you can use it to be made more efficient, which you can see in the diagram, which are: step 1, describe the general area; 2, identify specific improvement areas; 3, determine targets; 4, determine current state; and 5, determine the action steps. So step 1, describe the general area. In this step, we describe the general area that we want to analyze and improve. Now, this may seem like an unnecessary step, but by performing it, we not only highlight what area is under investigation, but also it informs people what areas are not under investigation. And that helps avoid scope creep, and it keeps the rest of the analysis very focused. So, for example, we might decide to analyze our online marketing efforts. And that obviously implies that we're not investigating our offline advertising, such as print and television. So by being very clear about what we are and what we are not investigating, it keeps everyone on the same page. Step 2, identify specific improvement areas. Now, in this step, we identify specific areas for improvement within the general area we described in step 1. So, for example, if the general area we're investigating is our online marketing, then we may identify content creation and paid advertising as specific areas we'd like to improve. Step 3, determine our targets. And as we've now identified our specific improvement areas, the next step is to set targets for each of those specific areas. Now, a common input to this step is to use benchmarking, so looking at how other companies are doing to find your areas of weakness, or maybe analyzing industry best practice is another input you could use. Now, what targets you set will depend on a combination of things, such as the time available to address the gap, as well as the ambition of the organization and how far you are, industry best practices and the benchmarking you may have done.
Okay. I will leave the video later, you can watch it, but I will go over the steps here just briefly to explain the idea of the gap analysis. تحدد في البداية الاريا اللي عندك مشكلة فيها، مثلا مبيعات الشركة، السيجنال مثلا لبعض اللي هو شركات الاتصالات في بعض المناطق ضعيفة أو التغطية ضعيفة بشكل عام. بعدين نروح ل specific improvement area، معناها احنا بنقوي السيجنال او نبغى نزيد increase our market sales في المنطقة هذه. بعدها تحط التارجت، كم what is the current sales and what is the current coverage and what is the target، احنا فين وكم نبغى نوصل، and what are the actions needed, what the resources needed to be done, what maybe projects has to be. يعني مثلا احنا في وقت من الاوقات كنا في ترتيب معين ضمن الدول استخدام التقنية، قفزنا قفزات جدا كبيرة في مرحلة الجائحة حقت كورونا بعد التحول الالكتروني اللي صار لمعظم الجهات الحكومية، فعمل جمب كبير. طبعا هذا لا شك انه هو في كان جاب عندنا في استخدام التقنية أو في التعاملات التقنية في الخدمات الحكومية المقدمة. فهذا الشيء تم الاستشعار به، تحطت له أهداف وفين إحنا this is your rank وفين نبغى نوصل this is our goal، زي اللي هو PIF. كم حجم الصندوق الآن؟ إحنا كنا في وقت صندوق أصلا الاستثمارات ما كان بالشكل هذا، الكونسبت حقه تغير، أصبح الآن عندنا صندوق سيادي. كم التارجت، where are we now, where we want to achieve in the future. لما نقول إحنا فين بنقارن نفسنا بال other competitors. فهنا برضو بتستخدم زي الفكرة السوات، لكن هنا بتطلع بأكشنز، هناك بتطلع باستراتيجيك بلان، بعدها بتنزل من الاستراتيجيك بلان انتو جولز، من الجولز تبدا تعمل بروجكتس. الاستراتيجيك بلان تكون فيري وايد، يعني I want to improve my market share. طيب ممتاز، ايش هو الجولز؟ الجول انه ابغى اوصل لهذا الرقم، بعد كده تعمل بروجكتس تخدم هذا الجول. فتزيد مثلا احنا السياحه نبغى نستقطب سياح للمملكه، عندنا جاب في موضوع السياحه. طيب جميل جدا، هذا الجنرال اريا. ايش السبيسيفيك improvement؟ you do SWOT analysis, you do evaluate what are the strategy, where is the opportunities. عندي opportunities، أنا the only country that hosts all the Muslims in the world for the 2 holy mosques, so I can initiate a new idea for attracting Muslims to come and do Islamic tourism. ما هو بس معتمد على الحج والعمرة، حتى مفهوم العمرة تغير. انت انسان ترانزيت جاي حتوقف على السعودية هب ورايح على دولة ثانية، you can come and make عمرة. issuing البرميشن البرميت او التأشيرة فيزا العمرة تسهلها، هذه specific improvement. التارجتس حقي اوكي انا بستقطب بس في السياحة الدينية، هذه اللي هي مقصود بها للعمرة او حتى توريزم، يعني أماكن اللي هي الإسلامية، هذا الرقم. So what is the actions as we said؟ يعني حتبدأ تسهل في التصاريح، تسهل في هذا، تزود في الكاباسيتي حقت الموسكس حقتك عشان تقدر تستوعب الأعداد هذه، التعامل مع شركات، تقدر تعمل تفويجات سياحية للمزارات الدينية الموجودة في المملكة. هذا جانب بس السياحة. بعدين عندك جوانب أخرى، عندك يعني العلا، في عندك مناطق آثار، مناطق تاريخية، مناطق طبيعية، حتى السبورت. أنا how I can attract people ممكن أعمل international competition، يعني زي الأيجن كاب اللي هو الفوتبول كاب. هذا حيزود هذا كله في الآخر. الجنرال اللي هو زيادة أو عملية اللي هو السياحة في البلد، عدد الزوار، المواسم اللي بيعملوها للترفيه، هذه برضو تستقطب ناس. تسجيل مدن تحت اليونسكو أو محميات بيئية أو مناطق تاريخية أثرية، هذا يستقطب الناس. في ناس مهتمة في الأشياء هذه تبى تيجي تزورها. All of these are actions taken to cover the main general area اللي هي حق استقطاب الزوار ولا السياح من خارج المملكة. Okay, let's move on to, sorry, stop this one here. Okay. So this is the gap analysis, and this is just very يعني simple template how you can implement the gap analysis. Maybe you don't have to go with all the W questions here. لكن definitely the main 3 questions اللي we talked about, those 3. Where are we now? Where do you want to achieve? And how we are going to do it. يعني all these details في النهاية هي حتوصلنا لنفس الغرض هذا. Okay, I will stop the lecture for here. I will continue the strategic planning tools in the next meeting. We will cover developing goals, developing mission and vision. Now we have covered the strategic tools, but now we are going with the strategic planning process. كيف نعمل strategic planning؟ تعلمنا بعض الأدوات نستخدمها في تحليل الاستراتيجية حقتنا، في تحليل الاستراتيجية عشان نعرف إحنا نركز على إيش. ما هي بس هي يعني هو you have to evaluate yourself. What is your situation compared to the others, compared to the external factors, the global market, where you are, where do you want to achieve. These are to make the analysis, to make the idea where you want to achieve. But then you have a process how you proceed. You have to develop a mission, vision, your identity. هنا تبدأ الايدنتي حقتك. هذا اللي حيوصف المنظومة هذه ايش تخدم، ايش تسوي. بعدين you develop goals and objectives. فاكرين قلت لكم strategic plan، تحط strategic. هي انا ابغى اوصل في جزئية الثريت والويكنس هذه بغطيها بالطريقة دي، او الثريت والopportunities. I put a strategy to maximize my strength, my brand, my name, and enter a new market share. حلو، هذا strategic. Then what is your goals? Okay, الجولز تكون very more specific. الobjective more specific. هنتكلم what is the difference between goals and objectives. We will talk about this in the next meeting. How we establish KPIs, the balanced scorecard, perform risk analysis, and operational plan, the last step. After you do all these steps, then you put the operational plan, how you execute this strategic plan. Okay, so we will continue this in the next meeting. I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you for your watching.